What's going on, everybody? Rob here, aka Trev2323. Somebody asked me if I could go over my whole DIY solar system that I did. So I'm going to go over step by step everything I did for the solar system. I'm just looking at my phone, everything's popping on it. This is my Samsung S22 I'm shooting the video with. My GoPro batteries did not work. So the first things I started out with was these 4 Renogy panels right here. These are 12 volts per panel. Which way I got to go? 12 volts per panel, okay? So each one of these is 12 volts, 100 watts. 100 watts, 12 volts. They do bring in a lot of power. Now there's different panels, some that they have to have direct sun and some that they could have indirect sun and still generate power. These have indirect sun and still generate power. Now there's a couple things that are pretty cool with that. They're on the side of my garage. You can see that because the sun comes from this way over here, and during the summertime the sun actually comes directly between this gangway and still hits these panels. So even till like 7 o'clock at night, these panels are still collecting not full voltage but some voltage. Now the sun comes from that way down and doesn't hit those directly, but the sun hits the ones on top of the garage directly. Now those are 235 watt 24 volt Trina solar panel, used industrial Trina solar panels. I do love these. I bought 4 of them. I should have bought more. So I love those Trina panels, but they are big and bulky and harder to maneuver. Okay, so there's 235 watts. Now those are 24 volts, so those are in series, 2 of them in series, and you gotta look up series and parallel, but 2 of them in series to make 48 volts, because I have a 3000 watt 48 volt system. Now these 4 panels are 12 volts each, so they're 4 in series to make 48 volts. So there's 400 watts right there, and there's 470 watts on the top of this garage. Now if we go to the other side of the garage, these don't get the most voltage at all, and what they say is all your solar panels should be the exact same way to get the exact same voltage and the exact same panels. Now my method to the madness is 2 things with this over here. I have 2 more panels all the way on this side of the garage. Those are Trina 24 volts, so they're in series to make 48 volts, and that's another 570 watts right there, right? 235 each, so it's 570, then 400. Okay, but the method to the madness here is in springtime the sun comes up more from this side and the sun sets more on this side. So between the gangways, like I said, between the gangways, the panels do get sun. If I was gonna have a garage built, or if I was gonna have a garage built, I would have my garage built like with the garage right here, the 2.5 car garage. You could probably fit 2, 4, 12 panels on there, and that'll be awesome. I have a 1 car garage where all I fit is 2 industrial panels on this side, 4 industrial panels that side. Now I do have the carport where I could probably fit 4 more industrial panels on this side of the garage, which would be my next step. Okay, so that's the panels that I have right now. But when I first started out, kind of as a hobby, as that I'm doing solar and that and this, that, and the other. And these 400 watt panels, they really didn't do nothing. They just were enough to keep my grow watt inverter on. So all these panels are ran to what's called a combiner box. This is an eco-worthy combiner box. So like I said, these are in series, the top ones are in series, the other ones are in series, and they're drilled through the roof, and I have roofing tar to seal all the things. And so all the wires I ran inside, you see they come out right here. The ones on the top of the garage come out right here. The ones from the side of the garage come out right here. Okay, so this is what's called a combiner box. This can handle what's called 4 strings. So this is 1 string, 48 volts. That's 1 string, 48 volts, and the other side is the other string, 48 volts. So if you can see right here going in, there's 1, 2, 3. So these are 3 strings, 48 volts per string, but they combine down through the pipe into the, now all these 3 strings are series in order to come down into here. So it's 48 volts, 48 volts, 48 volts. Then they're paralleled together. Then they're all put together. So the one going in the house is only 48 volts. So this is what you got to look up. If I were running these in series, they'd go over the voltage that my thing can handle. But now I have all this wattage and all these 48 volt, 48 volt, 48 volt, 3 strings of 48 volt go parallel into 148 volts underground into my house. Now if you see these green ones and this other one, I have a ground rod. All my panels are grounded. These panels are grounded. The panels on the roof, they're all grounded into the ground. Somebody say, well, you don't need to ground them. Yes, you do. That's why there's a place on the back that says ground or has the little lines for the ground. You have to ground your panels because people think I'm crazy. This right here is grounded. It has 2.5 foot stakes all the way into the ground. So if lightning hits this, it shouldn't arc because the lightning tries to get to the ground. But if lightning hits the panel on the roof and is not grounded, it could arc somewhere else. So you try to make the furthest path to the ground, so that's why you ground it. So this is grounded underground into my house. This right here goes completely underground with marina, you know, the thick marina waterproof wire that is inside the tube going underground. So not only is the underground PVC there, but it is the tube that has a waterproof thick, I don't know what gauge it is. It's like a really thick gauge line coming all the way into the house. Now I'm going to show you where it comes into the house. It's underground all through the deck, all the way underground. And we removed our dryer, so it's not finished up yet, but it goes into the house from right there underground. So all the solar stuff is on the garage. It goes completely underground, and then it comes up to go into the house right here. Pulling that really thick cable, pulling it through that pipe was hard. I should have went with a thicker underground PVC pipe, but that was a nightmare pulling that wire. For the life of me, I can't think of how thick it is. Look up 50 amp marina cable. That's the size cable that's underground right now. So this is the outside of the system. So to add on, you can add on this. Now I can put one more string, which I'm gonna get 2 more Trina panels and put another string right there because I have the input to put another string right there. So from this, if I wanted to build, say all those parallel were done, say all these were done, and I had 4 strings to go. I'll open this up for you right here. See, there's one more empty string right here. So I can put another 48 volt string right here, and then it comes down to 148 volt coming out. All right, you can open this up right here. This is what it looks like inside the Eco-Worthy combiner box. I paid $85 for this combiner box. It's red, so it's live right now. You shut it down, the whole box is not live. It's grounded right into the ground, and those wires right there are coming into here, attaching to the rest of the wires going out. Okay, so these are individual fuses for each individual string right here. So I could, as you can see, I could put one more string on this. Okay, so that's say 1,180 plus 400, so it's like almost 1,400 watts that this system is bringing in. But I'm buying 2 more Trinas, so it's going to be another 500 watts that it's going to be bringing in. Now say it looks like my combiner box is all done, it's maxed out right here. Okay, no, from this I could add 4 more strings, but not sideways to this. You start combining these strings in parallel. So I got a 48 volt string, I could put another 48 volt string and have this in series and the other 48 volt string in series, then bring them down to parallel into one line right here, and it'll bring up the amperage and wattage, but the voltage will stay the same. This is all so deep that you really have to look into it. I'm not the expert on it. I've dabbled and dabbled. Where these right here power my fish tanks. I have 2 125 gallon fish tanks, and during the sunshine, there's no sunshine today, they could power my 2 125 gallon fish tanks the whole time the sun is out with the heater and everything. Although I'm in the city of Chicago, we had a bad winter, we had dirty snow. I'd venture to say I'm almost going on 2 months of this just being a backup generator because I built the battery, and I'm gonna show you the battery next. But 2 months of it basically just being a backup generator where they get some voltage, they get some power, but it's like trickling to keep the inverter on and to keep the battery on. Now, when there was snow on the panels and when there was dirt on those panels, they weren't bringing in nothing. I literally, the snow was so dirty, it froze, it was on top of the panels. These side panels were the only ones bringing in some power. I physically had to get up there and mop those panels because they weren't bringing in any power. So, if I weren't on the grid, I wouldn't have had power because I don't got that big of a battery. Those are super expensive. Now let's go inside. Now this is the inside of the house. That wire that comes into the house, there's a box behind the wall on the house itself, and it just comes through this cable right here to the bottom of the solar inverter. This is a 48 volt 3000 watt solar inverter. This right here was $850, okay? This will not go on unless you have a 48 volt battery. You could plug this into the wall right here. So you could plug it into the wall. This will not go on unless you have a 48 volt battery connected to it. Now you could say, Rob, why isn't this on right now? Let me tell you why it's not on right now. You could buy already prefabricated EG4 lithium ion cells. They're about $1,700 each. I built this battery myself. The battery itself with the BMS, the battery management system, costed me about $500 to $550 to make this battery myself. Okay, I've had this running for about 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. No problems at all. Well, one time my connectors went out. I don't know if they just lost they were copper coated, the copper coating or whatever. After I troubleshot that, this right here just went out on me. This DALI battery management system, battery management sensor. So if this goes out right here, these batteries are still holding 51 volts right now. They can go up to 56 volts. I could connect this battery directly into that and my whole system will be running. Lithium ion, if you overcharge lithium ion cells, can start a fire in your house, and it's a runaway train. It's hard to die out. People have semi batteries and regular batteries inside the house. Those let gases out of them, and with the gases they let out of them, they can make you sick. Lithium ion does not, although you need a really good battery management sensor, because you see all these go to the power of each individual battery. There's 14 batteries here, okay? Then it comes to the main negative of the battery, and it won't let any voltage, it won't make any ground to go to this unless every battery is regulated and under like watch, okay? So this is so old. This is Bluetooth to my phone, but this is so old that there was an update, and I did the update, and this did not understand the update. So I paid $100 for this. I can't be mad. I got 2.5, almost 3 years out of it. So I just ordered a new one. So if you see why this is not on right now, I've been down for about a week. I'm not mad that I've been down for about a week because there hasn't been any sun. There's been no sun out at all. So this right here is just basically a backup generator. A backup generator right now because I got 1 kilowatt of power right here. Now these, what are they called? EG4 batteries. You can look them up. They have 5 kilowatts of power, and you could stack like 5 of them in a row. So our house, we're down to using 14 kilowatts of power a day. So you see this right here, if the power goes out, this is 1 kilowatt of power, but we use 14 hours a day. But if this is up and running and the sun goes, or the power goes out during the day, we can plug into this, and we got 1400 watts coming in right now from the sun. Will bring in 1400 watts, although it will not work unless you have a 48 volt functioning to this. Now there's hybrid ones that you don't need the battery, and they're newer ones. Like I said, I had this for about 3 years. This is one of the first ones that came out where it needs a battery to run, okay? I love it. It's a love-hate relationship because if there's no sun, you feel like, well, I just got a backup battery here, right? But if there's sun out and it's not on, you're like, I'm throwing away energy, I'm throwing away electricity. You get upset about it. So my goal with this is I'm buying 2 more of the used Trina panels. They're like an hour away from here, and the guy that's selling them over there is $95 a panel. So I'm buying 2 more of those, and I have another battery management sensor coming in. It cost me $85. It's a JK BMS JK battery management sensor. So I'm going to be doing an install on installing that into here. Then that'll get this battery up and running, which will then get this grow watt inverter up and running. Now I bypassed it right now, but I do have a 70 amp breaker on this already. There's a nice panel that covers this. There's a 70 amp breaker. So with this grow watt inverter right here, this can plug into the grid. So when your battery's on and there's no sun, you don't have to keep taking like my fish tanks every morning when the sun's out and this is running. I have my alarm set when the sunrise is going to be. I unplug my fish tanks from the wall and I plug them into this and I leave them on that till the sun goes down and then I switch it back. Why do I do that? Why do I do that? Okay, so this is what you plug into it. You can plug whatever you want into it right here. This is to plug into the grid, but I never plug it into the grid. Why don't I plug it into the grid? Because this right here uses power just to be on. There's an inverter in here, a 48 volt to 120 volt inverter that uses power just to be on. So if you have this plugged into the grid at nighttime, you're using extra power than just the fish tanks would use just to have this on. So I just unplug. I never have this plugged into the grid. I just do myself unplug and plug, unplug and plug. It sounds like a pain in the butt, but I guess I'm that much of an energy miser. Like now, if we go out and I have this plugged into the grid, it will use this battery and the sun, if not enough, to keep my fish tanks running. And then if the sun goes down, it'll just switch directly to the grid, or it'll keep the fish tanks on. But I prefer, if we go out, I just plug them into the grid and I don't even worry about this. I use it so I could monitor it myself. I can monitor it myself and I can switch everything to the grid and off the grid at my being, okay? Now, one thing with this right here, with the sun and the solar, and I have a battery connected to that, if the power were to go out, I'm making it where my boiler motor can run off of this right here. If the power goes out, we can still have heat in the house because I'm going to hook this up to the boiler motor. Another thing is we're going to get the extra panels on here. I'm going to get 2 more panels and then make another battery because I'm going to build onto the batteries. Once you got your system up and running, you could build on 2 things. You build onto the batteries, so you make your battery power. You stock up on your battery power. If the power goes out or overnight, it'll keep it running overnight. If I had 3 of these batteries, I would never have to plug it into the grid because overnight it'll just go off the batteries during the sun time. When the sun's out, it'll run the fish tanks and charge the batteries, and at nighttime it'll just go off the batteries. Then when the sun comes back out, it's going to charge. Now you need solid sunlight for that and enough power coming in to charge your batteries and for me to run my tanks. This summer with the other two panels, I'm going to attempt to run a 12,000 BTU air conditioner in the dining room off of the sun. But I'm going to do it the same way, where I'm going to come downstairs, I'm going to unplug it, plug it into the sun, come down and plug it into here. If we're gone, I'm just going to leave it plugged into the grid because it does lessen the power consumption. And like I said, these do use power and I don't have enough battery backup, so it makes no sense to me to be paying extra wattage just to run these overnight when I could just come down and plug it into the wall. So it's down right now. My battery management sensor went down. My batteries are at 51 volts right now. They could top off at 56 volts. I do not want to bypass this and go directly into here because lithium ion is very dangerous if you do not know what you're doing. You need a battery management system. You need to study how to connect your battery, how to run your batteries, now with this new one I got in the phone app, I have to set all my settings. Each one of these cells can only hold 4.2 volts and they shut down at 3.2 volts. Okay, this is really deep. I mean, you got to look into it. There's heat sensors on this, and if the heat sensor goes wrong, it disconnects everything from the negative and it shuts your whole system down. If the voltage goes too low, this will shut your system down, or you could program this to shut your system down if the voltage goes too low. This can discharge up to 100 amps. My whole house can power 100 amps, but this can discharge up to 100 amps but only 3,000 watts. But I'm okay with it only doing 3,000 watts. Now these are daisy chainable. You could do 2 of them, 3 of them in a row with your batteries and 3, 6, 9, 12, you could power everything. But I would never daisy chain these myself. And let me tell you why. Because I had to troubleshoot this in the beginning. I'm a novice. And I think it's easier to troubleshoot each individual system, and you could have each individual breaker box for each individual system. So if one system goes down, your whole system's not down, and it's easier to troubleshoot that one system and isolate kind of that one system than to have everything daisy chained, all your batteries daisy chained, and you gotta troubleshoot a whole system. So I'm comfortable with this 3000 watt one, and if I buy another one, it will be another 3000 watt one. But right now I'm only bringing in 1400 watts of power from the sun. I got another 2 panels, so I want to be bringing in right around 2100 watts. Now it says it's a 48 volt system. Truthfully, the panels are bringing in 55 volts on average. Between 55 and 56 volts is what those panels peak sun, peak everything I'm bringing in. It's 56 volts, and this battery will be topped off at 56 volts where it could be. This right here has a voltage open current. That's the max voltage you could bring into his is 72 voltage over open current. Okay, so and that's why when I parallel these, they're in series to get up to the 48 volts, and then you parallel them, but it keeps it at around 55 to 56 volts. So I completely love my grow watt system. This is my whole grow watt system. This cooler and this is actually on a dolly. It's not in its place that it needs to be at permanently. It's on a dolly right now, and actually I took it in my van and I took it with me on vacation, but it's too big to do all that. So this was in the cooler, but when I was troubleshooting the battery, I took it out and I just put it on top of the cooler. But I found out that this went bad, so I'm going to be doing a review on the JKBMS battery management system, and I'm going to be wiring it to these 14 batteries to see if we can get this back on. All right, so that's a little bit about my solar inverter, my solar system, how much watts I'm bringing in. When I grow the system, next is I'm buying 2 more industrial Trina panels. They're used panels. I prefer to buy these big industrial used panels. They're serving me right. They're doing me good. And then I'm gonna, after I get the 2 more panels, then I'm gonna build another battery, and then I'll be up to 2 kilowatts of power stored. All right, talk to you later. Subscribe, like, and share.